Now, some of you might ask, what is meant by ICT? Well, ICT is the acronym which stands for Information and Communications Technology. Now, this COVID-19 pandemic, which we are currently experiencing, has forced many persons to be in a situation where they are working remotely from home. And even though this might be a new phenomenon for many persons within the public sector, we have existing legislation which addresses this, and we have best practices which guide and speak to persons working remotely from home. So let's first look at the legislation. The two pieces of legislation are the Computer Misuse Act and the Public Service Act Cap 29. There are two specific pieces of legislation which govern the ICTs, as I would have said. And in the Computer Misuse Act, this act makes provision for the protection of computer systems and the information contained in these systems from unauthorized access, from abuse by persons authorized to have access, and related matters. The Public Service Act, Cap 29, and in particular the Code of Conduct and Ethics that is contained therein, establishes standards of conduct in the public service. And in the Code of Discipline, also contained within the Public Service Act, it enforces these standards. For us in the public service, it is important to note that paragraph 23 of the Public Service Act states that officers are required to use information technology, including the internet, and other networks lawfully and responsibly, and in accordance with policies and guidelines of the public service that are stipulated in writing. In addition, if we continue to read this act, when we get down to paragraph 27, it makes it clear that if a person fails to comply with or engages in behavior that is prescribed, the provisions of paragraph 23, along with other paragraphs listed within the code, then the individual, he or she, is guilty of misconduct of a serious nature and will therefore be subjected to the appropriate penalty as set out in the Code of Discipline. So therefore, we have these legislations here which govern the process of working remotely from home. Now, when persons are working remotely from home, there are best practices which must be employed. And these best practices speak to the responsibility of the management as well as the responsibility of the staff member. The head of the department must ensure that the officer has the ability to work effectively from home with whatever software is needed, which they can complete their tasks through existing technologies, and that staff member have the required IT equipment that is needed for him or her to perform their duties. Now, both head of the department or the supervisor and the public officer must have a clear understanding of what is expected by both parties. Both parties must ensure that there are appropriate safeguards to maintain confidentiality with the treatment of government's documents, especially the supervising officer or the head of the department, because that responsibility of accountability for these things ultimately lies with them. On the other hand, the public officer, being clear of what is expected of them, must ensure that they adhere to all applicable laws, rules, regulations, policies, and procedures regarding information confidentiality and the security of their work. While at home, we must perform our work duties to the best of our ability. We must discuss and prioritize tasks and projects with the head of the department and interact with other staff members of your team where necessary. And the public officers must make themselves available and plan to attend virtual meetings, participate in conference calls, and be prepared to come into the office if that is required to get the task done. So, as I would have said, we have responsibilities as workers. In order to work remotely, the technological equipment needs to be utilized. What is this equipment I'm talking about? It can be tablet, it can be your smartphone, it can be your desktop computer or your laptop computer, or whatever digital equipment is required for you to carry out your work duties. So we're going to look at the equipment at this time. Now, some agencies will provide workers with the equipment that is needed. In this case, the equipment that is supplied by the government of Barbados is to be used for the government of Barbados business purposes only. And it is the responsibility of that staff member to protect it from damage, to protect it from theft. So government might give us a laptop, we're to carry that laptop. It's not for the children at home to play games on or other parties to utilize, thereby, causing harm to it. Once the equipment is provided by government, if this equipment malfunctions, it is important that the worker notify their head of department or their supervisor immediately. Where circumstances permit, the head of the department or the supervisor will determine if the equipment downtime warrants the staff member need to report to the main office until such time as the equipment malfunction is resolved, whatever problem it might have. Now, the staff member or the supervisor must report this malfunction or outage to the department's IT section, or in the case where departments or agencies do not have their own IT section, they can complete a help desk ticket from the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology for assistance. I also want to re-emphasize to listeners that under the Code of Discipline, which is in the Public Service Act, if any public officer willfully damages the device that is given to them for work purposes, they may receive disciplinary action. Now, in some cases, permission may be given to the public officer to instead use their own personal devices for work purposes. So in this case, permission would usually be given to use their own device, whatever belongs to them, for the work purposes. In this case, public officers then may utilize this device to access the following Government of Barbados resources: their emails, their calendars, their contacts, and documents. Once the device is being used for the Government of Barbados work purposes, it is important that the IT department of the ministry or the department which you belong to ensure that the necessary software is installed on that device and that your device is in a secure position when accessing the Government of Barbados network. The public officer is expected to use his or her devices in an ethical manner at all times, and to adhere to the information security and acceptable use policy of the departments. What do I mean by an ethical manner? In other words, you're not using your device for malicious intent. You're not going to use your device for anything that is pornographic in nature, to store or transmit illicit materials, to harass other persons, or in cases engage in business activities that are outside of government. So the IT department will ensure that with these personal devices, persons can connect to their ministry or department in a safe manner. So if you have any connectivity issues, you would then refer to the said IT department, or as I would have noted before, if the ministry does not have a designated IT department, you can refer to the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology for assistance. If the personal officer device malfunctions, unfortunately, they will have to contact the device manufacturer or whoever they would have bought that personal device from for assistance. It doesn't mean that the IT department will not assist you where they can, but it's always best to get back to the manufacturer. As public officers work from home, they should follow any policies and guidelines which are given to them by the ministry and department in relation to the acceptable use of their device. Regardless if the device is a government-issued device or one which is personally owned, certain security protocols need to be observed. So at this time, we're going to look at some of these security protocols. We will look at the security protocols as it relates to passwords, emails, and some basic general cybersecurity tips to assist us to remain safe while working remotely from home. So let's look at passwords first. System level and user level passwords must comply with the password standards of your department. Usually at first logon, persons are prompted to change their passwords. But regardless, as a user, if you receive this prompt or not, it is necessary that you change your password at the first logon. In order to prevent unauthorized access, devices that are in use must be password protected with the features that are on that device to do so. And a strong password is required in order to access any of the government's networks. So as a user, we need to create complex passwords. Simple enough for us to remember, but complex enough that persons will not easily figure them out. So how do I go about creating a complex password, you might ask? This is by adhering to a strong password policy. Passwords must be at least 8 characters and a combination of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. These are all properties of having a complex password. Remember, let the password be meaningful to you. That way you can easily remember it. Passwords should be rotated every 90 days. And the new password should not be a password that you would have used previously. Change them up. This prompt to change your password every 90 days or so is usually enabled by your password administrator. But if you realize that I haven't changed my password in about 3 months or so, take the initiative and change your password. Use two-factor authentication. What is two-factor authentication? Again, this is another property that once you log on to your device, once it is enabled by your password administrator, you will see a prompt asking you if you want to use two-factor authentication. This means that I might go and log into my computer by entering my password, but in order for me to complete the authentication, a verification code is then sent to my smartphone, or it might be sent to my email, which would contain a code to complete the verification of my password or the authentication of it. So in that way, there's an extra security of knowing this is Joyanne logging on to her device. Do not give your passwords to anyone, not even your trusted friend. Because remember, if you give out your password, you're giving them the key that opens the door to all the information that is on your device, as well as information which you will have access to on the government's network. So do not give your passwords to anyone. Use different passwords for different accounts. Some people might say, this is difficult for me to do. I don't remember these passwords. but don't lose heart. There's a way that you can do it. Try to devise a strategy in your mind that you can remember your passwords easily. Think of something you like. Think of something that you know is unique to you, and you can utilize it as you build your password. Do not write down your passwords and leave them on your monitors, on a sticky device or anything like that. Next, we will look at the emails. All government correspondence must use Government of Barbados email policies and procedures. Therefore, I will not expect persons to send out government correspondence by using their Yahoo email, their Google email or Gmail as we know it, nor their Hotmail accounts. We have a standard in government, and the entities have their assigned email addresses. So please send out all government correspondence this way using the email address assigned to you by the government. Internal government communication should not be sent via social media sites or unofficial message applications. Always check the sender's email address when you receive email in your inbox. If you're unsure, you could always Google to verify the legitimacy of the person in the organization. And do not trust any random messages or any email messages that have obvious mistakes within them. This way, you can detect if an email sent might be a phishing email or so, or any email that a hacker is using to try to get information from off your device. Remember that a phishing email is an attack which attempts to convince the user that is something that is a genuine email, but is really intended to get information from off of your systems. Especially now in this environment where we are working remotely from home, we do not have the infrastructural protection that we will usually have when we're in our government departments through their firewalls and so on. So it's at this time that we have to be extremely careful. Do not open emails from anyone that you don't recognize, and if they're suspicious, just send them to the junk mail. Some basic cybersecurity tips. Now, we need to remember that we do not send any illicit materials, we do not harass persons through email, and we do not engage any outside business activities through the Government of Barbados email. So some basic cybersecurity tips. I want us to keep our systems up to date. What do I mean by that? It means make sure that we're using operating systems that are not end of life or old. Make sure our antivirus is not expired. If you need assistance here, your department's IT department can assist you, or again, the Ministry of Innovation, Science, and Smart Technology is here to assist you as well. Ensure that the antivirus has updated signatures. Do not install unlicensed or pirated software on the devices. Sometimes persons do not want to purchase software, we have licenses here at the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology that you can utilize. So please do not download from any of those sites pirated software and place on your devices. Be mindful when visiting strange websites. Regularly monitor your devices for unusual behavior and performance. If you see that you're getting an email constantly from someone that you are not familiar with, or some organization from Israel, or something that you know you have not been part of, alert it to your IT department, because probably your device might need to be scanned. There might be some form of malware, something might be on it. So I want you to be observant and mindful. Perform regular backups on important files and documents. That means make sure you have some sort of secondary backup for these files and documents. When you're going on websites, in the URL, look for the S in the HTTPS address and ensure that there's a key or a lock symbol at the bottom of your browser. That allows you to know that you are entering a secure site. If you do not see that in the upper left-hand corner of your URL address, and you see the words "not secure," or you see a circle with a dash in it, it means that you are on a website that is not secure. Do not ever leave your devices unprotected and exposed. This can happen now that we're working from home, because we have so many distractions around us that we wouldn't have if we are sitting at our desk in the office. So let's be mindful of this and do not leave our devices unprotected and exposed. Whenever you're removing yourself from your computer to go to the bathroom, to go anywhere, let's lock the device when you are leaving it. I'm hoping that these little tips will assist us as we work from home. Now, the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, we are here to assist you, the public officer, if you have any difficulties. Here at the ministry, we do board of surveys, and what do I mean by that? We check off those pieces of equipment which need to be abandoned with, to be disposed of, and we do those inspections. And we prepare a report and submit it to the Ministry of Finance. We have a help desk here, which is our first line of support. We give support in our current government payment services, such as Easy Pay. And in the Easy Pay Plus service, you can make payments for national insurance, land tax, to get a copy of the official Gazette, professional services, and we have many other services which we are currently onboarding. We assist with email management and email administration. We assist with your Cisco devices or your telephones that are usually on your desk. As you know, most of us have 535 or these government numbers, and If you have any difficulty there, we assist there as well. We assist at the ministry with application development. You might need an application to assist in your agency or your department. We do application development there. We assist with security as well, helping you to build a good security posture. We advise and we assist with information security. We assist with software support. As I told you, the government of Barbados has mandated the ministry to acquire licenses that are needed for Microsoft, licenses that are needed for your antivirus and so forth. So we also give software support. We give IT support, we give network support, and we are the persons who can send out email blasts or any general information which you need to go out to the entire public service. So if you need any assistance, especially now that public officers are working remotely from home, we are here to serve you and to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goddard, for that very interesting presentation there. And what I did like is that how you stressed in your presentation the legislation and stuff that impacts on us and what we are expected as well as public officers in terms of the protocols we should use. And so I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and there are so many. We may have to cluster some of these which are similar of nature. Hence, you may not at times get an exact response to your questions and our comments. And I'm seeing still a set of questions, a lot of questions still coming through. But it's at this time now, I'll try to read some of your questions so that Ms. Goddard can assist us here. Ms. Goddard, a question that came through is that, does MIST have a policy or standard? So the question would have been, is if the person is using their own device for the job, must I now cease using it for my personal purposes as well?
If you were given permission to use your personal device, you can use it for your personal purposes. However, you have to be mindful that it is a working device for government. So there are certain things that we will expect you not to engage in just as if it was the government of Barbados' own device. So yes, I expect that you will use your personal device in your leisure time to go on social media and so on. However, you would not carry government of Barbados documents on that medium and so on.
Okay. Thank you very much. And another question I'm seeing coming through here, does MIST really have a policy or standard on that?
Yes, we do. We have a policy and standard on that, but really you are supposed to get your policy and your standard from your ministry or your department, which means that your ministry or department should reach out to MIST for guidance to allow them to craft their policy. Because usually in workplaces, persons will be given this permission and they will have to sign the policy as well.
Okay.
So we do have policies, and we have all different types of policies, acceptable use policies. We have a lot of policies here which we can share with your ministry and share with your department so that you can understand what is the guideline as you work.
Okay, so a follow-up question as well also to that, and I'm seeing coming through. So sometimes the government email is not working and we need to get information off urgently. Should I be using Gmail, or what can be done to assist me there?
Once your government's email is not working, you contact your IT department and let them try to resolve that for you as soon as possible.
Okay,
We are to send out government's correspondence using government's email. You're not supposed to use Gmail or any personal email, internet email out there for government's purposes.
I'm glad that you stressed that as well too, because the person is also to asking is suppose the system is down and I really need to get it off. Some urgent information. I'm glad that you stressed that we should not be using our own personal, Gmail accounts and so. Another question I'm seeing coming through here, Joyanne. How would you address, say, supervisors who consistently rely on, say, WhatsApp, messenger groups for government-related information, or to share government-related information?
WhatsApp is not the platform for sharing government's related information, as you know. We have websites, we have, again, our government emails, and so on. Now, some ministries, some departments do take it upon themselves to create WhatsApp chats for internal communication and so forth. But please remember that the authorized platform is not WhatsApp or social media platforms. It is either a government website, it is either a government email. That's the way how correspondence really should be sent to and from for government.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm seeing two other little questions here, and this one relates to, is there a written ICT policy in circulation? And a follow-up to that one as well also to, someone is asking, what's the CAP number for the Computer Misuse Act?
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Oh, I need to repeat it, or you heard me?
I heard we have ICT policy in draft right now, which will, yes, in draft at this point. But all of these policies will be coming forward, but majority of many of these policies at this point are draft.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much.
The last question that you would have asked outside of the policies.
Yeah, that was the one where they want to know if there is a CAP number for the Computer Misuse Act. And even in terms of that, I think to a later person, we're also looking at in terms of the Computer Misuse Act. John, you probably can answer that one better for me.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, I didn't hear what you said last. Sorry about that.
Oh, right. I was just repeating whether there was the CAP number. Someone was asking if there's a CAP number for the Computer Misuse Act, and if it is if that document is in a draft, or if it is a document that they can download, or
that's a document that they can download. Just if you go on the internet, you can put in the Computer Misuse Act and you will see it.
All right. Okay, thank you. Another question as well that I'm seeing, Joy, is set of questions that are still coming through, and I'm just trying to ensure that I can get those answered for you. I just want to remind you as well, participants, that this recording will be forwarded to you, and it will be made available to you in the very near future. So for those who might have joined late, or you're still going to be able to get access to this information. All right. Any other questions I'm seeing there? Joy, what about you? Any, since this information has been informative, is there any final comments you would want to, even say provide to us, or to the participants who are listening?
Yes, thanks. I just want to encourage us to try to be as safe as we possibly can when we are utilizing the internet and we're working remotely from home, because the truth of the matter is, especially in these times, we have to recognize that more bad actors are out there trying to get as much government information as possible to place on the dark web and so on. So we really need to be mindful, especially with this form of working. So I'm just encouraging persons to, follow the guidelines, make sure your passwords are strong, make sure you regularly change them, ensure that you work with your IT department closely if you have an IT department, and in those instances when you don't, reach out to us here at the Ministry of Innovation for assistance.
Okay, thank you. Joy, I'm seeing two other questions coming in here again now. Person says, good morning. What advice can you give about using Zoom and other facilities? Is this going to be the norm in the public service in the future?
Currently, we use a lot of telecommuting apps. You have Zoom, you have WebEx, you have Teams. We at the Ministry of Innovation, we have utilized Teams because of security issues, because if you were listening on the internet, you would have realized that Zoom had a lot of security issues coming out, especially with persons working remotely from home. We have adopted through the ministry the use of Microsoft Teams, because with Microsoft Teams, we have an extra layer of security through the Microsoft Office 365 suite.
Yeah.
There are a lot of governments who are using Teams and so on. However, I know there are some persons who have a personal preference for Zoom, but if that is the case, you need to ensure that you follow the security protocols that the vendor would give you to ensure that you work in the commuting software as safely as possible, like the utilization of passwords and those things whereby persons who were not supposed to be a part of your meeting don't suddenly turn up.
Okay.
So those are the type of things. The truth is, the way how the COVID pandemic has forced us to operate as we are working now, I can see that this format would most likely be embraced and utilized even more so in the future.
Okay, that's great. And just one final question before we wrap up. Could you provide, say, an example of how the personal and professional use of one's personal device may overlap?
Okay, personal device use. I like to listen to a lot of music. I might even like to download the music on my device. but yet this device is used for government purposes. An easy way to keep government work distinct from personal work is to be able to create drives on the same device or folders. That might even be easier, so that you know once you're working, everything relating to work is on this drive, everything related to personal information is related on another drive if you are using your own personal device.
Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, we are soon at our final time, and Joyanne, I'd like to thank you for this very informative and timely presentation that you have just delivered. And, you know, to you, the participants, I want to thank you for the questions, the comments, and for your contribution to the presentation as we had looked at the public service ICT security protocols. And there were some very interesting and thought-provoking questions and comments that you would have provided us. I'd also like to extend thanks again to Mrs. Goddard for accepting our invitation, and the team members and the technical personnel of the Learning and Development Directorate Ministry of the Public Service for their support in making this webinar possible. I'd just like to remind you that, as I said, this recording will be made available in the near future. And just to let you know that in the upcoming weeks, we at the Learning and Development Directorate of the Ministry of the Public Service, that we will be continuing these webinar sessions to keep you updated on matters of importance to the public service and to you as public officers. I'd like to say thanks for listening and participating, and may you continue to stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all.